dozen potential mines in northern Wisconsin, they had their lawyers and lobbyists write the regulations for mining in Wisconsin. Now, a Madison Democratic legislator is leading a diverse coalition of more than 50 groups that are calling for strict environmental protections.
As many of you know, our current mining laws in the state of Wisconsin are far too weak to protect our environment. Our mining laws now are riddled with loopholes and exemptions for the mining industry.
What we're saying is show us, prove that you're not going to cause pollution.
He's introducing a bill with direct impact on Exxon's plans to build a huge sulfide mine at the headwaters of the Wolf River. The mining moratorium bill would prevent the state from issuing mining permits to any company until it demonstrates that a sulfide mine in the United States or Canada has operated safely and has been closed for at least 10 years without polluting surface or ground waters.
Our rallying cry is simple. The people of Wisconsin refuse to be Exxon's guinea pigs.
Because when all is said and done, Exxon's going to take the wealth and Wisconsin's going to get the shaft.
Listening in is James Buchan. He represents Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce.
It's just typical misinformation from the environmental community.
Then you should have nothing to worry about if it's going to be so easy to prove that you've got all these mines that aren't leaking. There should be no problem with this bill, and you ought to support it. Isn't that right?
Knowing the track record of the kinds of legislation that you sponsor, I'm sure that it's designed to ban mining.
Have you read the bill yet?
You haven't released it.
Well, if you haven't read the bill yet, it's not really quite fair of you to characterize it as something that it's not. You haven't even read it yet.
Again, your half-truths and misinformation to support your position are just typical.
Nice try. Nice try.
While the mining industry cannot point to a single example of a successfully reclaimed metallic sulfide mine, they want us to trust that it will be done for the first time in the Wolf River watershed.
It's an excellent trout stream, and the total biodiversity of the river is such that you cannot risk discharges with questionable people at the valves. You can't have one error, one mistake.
In March 1989, the Exxon Valdez spilled 11 million gallons of oil into Prince William Sound near the port of Valdez. Alyeska Pipeline Company, which is owned by 7 oil companies, including Exxon, operates the terminal, keeping barges and booms on hand for emergencies. Alyeska responded as the Exxon Valdez leaked oil into Prince William Sound, but contingency plans for a 200,000 barrel spill were grossly inadequate. As a result, the oil quickly traveled into the Gulf of Alaska, contaminating water as far south as Kodiak Island. Fishermen found their livelihood threatened as all herring and salmon fisheries were closed in Prince William Sound.
Well, I'm happy
Carrie
to have you
Bohai
here, Mr.
of Alaska Public Television asked a state official why the cleanup took so long getting underway.
Mr. Dietrich, what took so long, in your opinion, to make things happen, to make the cleanup get started?
The actual reasons as to why the cleanup efforts on the water themselves weren't started, you have to talk to Alyeska and Exxon to find out whatever the reasons were that the startup may have been slower than anticipated.
Besides logistics, Mr. Kuntz, what were the reasons?
Well, you exclude a very important parameter when you say besides logistics, and you realize that this spill occurred in Prince William Sound, which is a long way from almost anywhere else. And the equipment was coming from literally all over the world. We have really nothing to apologize for with respect to the intensity with which we pursued the cleanup.
But an investigation by the Wall Street Journal revealed that Alyeska had long pursued a policy of cutting corners on environment and safety, which made the spill worse than it need have been. In September 1989, fishermen who were dissatisfied with Exxon's lack of progress in cleaning up the oil spill organized a boat protest in Valdez Harbor.
They can't ship it by water safely, they shouldn't ship it at all. It's impossible to clean it up off Alaska shorelines.
And this is from my favorite watering hole on the west side of Ashland.
It's water from the Kickapoo Valley.
This water is from Plover, Wisconsin.
This water is from a natural spring at my home in ceded territory on the north shore of Lake Superior.
In an area that was devastated by the Exxon Valdez oil spill. And may Exxon never, ever, ever, ever do the same here in Wisconsin. And may we, the people of Wisconsin, stop them by any means necessary.
I just ran down and got some water from Swamp Creek right here through the heart of Mole Lake. Runs through that Rice Lake, comes right off of that Spirit Hill watershed and runs through the heart of Mole Lake. And it is the heart of Mole Lake where that wild rice is grown and where Exxon wants to put the largest toxic waste dump in the history of Wisconsin. And they would poison this water. And I pledge that every year I will come back and drink this water.
Oh!
Because it will not be poisoned as long as I'm around.
You see that hill over there, that Spirit Hill? She says Grandpa used to go over there all the time, and he used to smoke his pipe there, and he would take the drum there, and every morning at sunup, Grandpa would be there with his drum and with his pipe. He would be singing to welcome the day, and that is the tradition of our tribe. And we never looked at it as a mining site or anything else. It was always a place to worship, and it was like our church. We'd go there and smoke our pipes and send our young children over there to have their visions and use it as our sweat lodge and different things that we did back then. My brother Robert and I, people have told us that we have taken on the ways of our grandparents, because my brother has taken over what my grandfather did, and I've taken over what my grandmother did for the tribe.
And they kept telling me and arguing with me about, well, you know, you can't prove that this is a traditional cultural property. You know, they'd argue.
Wesley Andrews was hired by Exxon's consulting firm as an ethnologist for the Crandon mine project. His job was to identify the cultural resources of the tribes, including sacred sites and properties of traditional cultural value, as part of a federal permitting process for the mine. Mr. Andrews is himself a member of an Odawa tribal band from Michigan.
You know, they'd argue about different things like Spirit Hill and whatnot, which is a significant site near the Secaucus Chippewa Reservation. It is largely significant as a burial area and as having historic traditions for the Sioux and Chippewa wars, that many Chippewa warriors are buried in that location.
It's the one thing the white man can't do, and he cannot stop our spiritual strength that we have as Indian people. He doesn't know that. He will never know that.
This is the area where Exxon is going to drain their water for the shaft. So remember that. So next year, the year after, the next 20 years and forever, we can keep this like it is today. Keep Exxon out of here.
we are in a situation like this, when there is war being waged on our lands. We only have 1,800 acres here. We have 1,800 acres and Exxon wants it. A good share of the copper is located off the reservation. What isn't being told is that we're sitting on the copper deposit as we speak. And the other part of it, the other minerals are also under the reservation. So once they steal the copper that is off the reservation, they will take it from us here. And what's going to happen to our tribe is we will be terminated.
They're completely concerned about a traditional cultural property's ability to jeopardize any of their proposed development in the mine, such as with plant gathering communities, with hunting and fishing in certain areas, sites where perhaps spirits dwell and may be disturbed by mining activities or whatever. A variety of different things that they seem to fear because they didn't know exactly what the tribe's actions would be if all of the traditional cultural properties of significance were identified and assessed. They would ask me such things as, well, how are you going to assure that the tribes aren't going to lie to you and make up a whole bunch of stuff? And I considered it, quite an insult and ludicrous that, the tribes or any individuals would make any attempts to conjure, lie about things that are of a spiritual or significant nature to them.
I've always said that this isn't about mining. It's about water, and it's about the water that they plan on destroying and polluting or whatever it is they're going to do with it. They're going to destroy this water, so that means we're not going to have no more wild rice. And if I can't have my wild rice, then I can't have my ceremonies. And when I can't have my ceremonies, then I might as well be dead.
And it only spoke to me of the fact that they did not take the tribe's concerns very seriously, that the tribes considered cultural resources to be a very significant and important part of what they wanted to protect and see protected as a result of this proposed Crandon mining company being developed, and that the Crandon mining company people were not taking those concerns seriously enough. It got to the point where I knew that I either had to write the lies that they wanted me to write, or I would have to write the truth and resign. So I chose to write the truth and resign. It was not a hard decision for me, but it was, I felt, the right one.
As a member of the Cincinnati Dominicans, we have convened 6 religious institutional investors. And those 6 religious investors are taking this issue to the Exxon annual meeting of shareholders on April 27th in Dallas, Texas. We are asking the company to report to all shareholders the impact of mining on indigenous communities, the impact on sacred sites, and on special environmental features. We are asking the company to tell all the shareholders about the local resistance to mining in Wisconsin and God knows where else. So we ask for your support. Thank you.
I thought that we could never fight Exxon. I'm never going to get rid of them. We're never going to get over this. And it wasn't until we went down to Dallas, Texas to the Exxon shareholders meeting, when we went there and talked to them and talked just like we were talking to everybody else about what's going on. When we talked to them, they asked for the vote, and when the vote came back, we only needed 3%